Right, I just wanted to say how motivation is a load of nonsense. It really is. 'Cause I was feeling it today. I was feeling like a lack of motivation. I was feeling low on energy today, and I've known in the past I've struggled with this. Like I would always quit whenever my motivation would drop off. So I'd be excited about doing something. Maybe it was um like trying to establish a new habit of like maybe exercising or stopping a bad habit, or maybe trying to eat healthier or work on something like a online business, or work on any sort of new idea that pops in my mind. I'd have that initial excitement of like the first few days where you'd be all energetic because you've got a new idea, you're full of desire, you're full of motivation, you're eager to do it, so you take action. But then there's always the inevitable drop off after a few. Usually I find with myself it's usually like 3 or 4 days after, possibly even earlier depending on what it is. You have this drop off in excitement, in motivation. It doesn't have to be a significant drop off, it can just be like a little small drop off, and instantly you kind of become kind of like depressed, and you end up thinking negatively about yourself. Negative thoughts go around you as, oh, I'm pathetic, I'm a failure, I can't seem to ever do anything, I can't seem to like commit to anything. But the reason being is because I always relied on motivation. I always thought that I had to feel good to do something for the long term. I always felt like in order to do something meaningful, I'd have to feel good on a daily basis. Like it would have to feel good. If I was making progress, surely that means I have to feel good all the time. But I've realised recently that that's not the case. Motivation is a load of nonsense. If you only do things when you're motivated, you'll be doing different things all the time, because motivation is just an emotion, it's just a feeling, and emotions and feelings are just fleeting. Like they're changing every 5 seconds. You could feel great right now, but then in 5 minutes time you could be feeling absolutely terrible. I mean, your emotions are in constant flux, they're always changing. So if you rely on feeling motivated all the time, you'll never last more than like a few days max, because something will happen, or you might not sleep, have not a good sleep, so you might wake up in the morning a bit more tired than normal, you won't feel as great. But anything can happen, any sort of things can happen in your life that you don't necessarily control, that can affect your motivation levels. It may be harder than you thought it was going to be when you first started, when you're all excited, so of course your motivation, your energy levels are going to drop a little bit. But if you rely on that, then that's when you quit. That's when 99% of people quit, is they're excited for the first few days, they're pumped up, they're taking a bit of action, but then the levels drop a little bit inevitably because of life. And then they quit because they're like, oh, it doesn't feel good anymore. Obviously it's not meant for me, this stupid idea that's not meant for them because it doesn't feel good. No, it's not supposed to feel good. That's why 99% of people don't achieve their goals, or don't achieve the life that they want to live, or don't have a truly successful life, an impactful life. That's why only 1% of people, or maybe I don't know, like 5% of people do, because it's hard. You don't feel good all the time. You've got to do whatever it is you're doing, even though you don't feel great, even though you don't necessarily want to do it. You want to just relax. Maybe you want to just sit by yourself, or just do something easy like watching TV, go on your phone or whatever, because that's easier. But no, that's why most people don't achieve success, because they rely on motivation. So if you feel this, notice this with yourself, which I have for years and years, I've always struggled with this. I'd always be excited. I was one of those people who was always trying something new, always doing something different, always be excited for the first few days. I'd always tell my family, friends, oh, I'm doing this. And then within a few days, I'd be like, nah, I'm not doing that anymore. Like, I'd be like, why do you always change your mind about stuff all the time? It's because I was relying on motivation all the time. I was relying on how I felt. But now I realise that I'm going to feel terrible, I'm going to feel tired, I'm going to feel less motivated, but it's not about motivation, it's about commitment. So it's about commitment and it's about action. If you commit to something, then take consistent action, regardless of how you feel, regardless of how motivated you feel. It's just commitment and action. And obviously, if you just commit to something and take action on it, say every day, or I don't know, like based on what you're doing, you could be exercising, new exercise regime, like three days a week, 3 times a week. If you just commit to that and take action towards it, regardless of how you feel, it's inevitable that you're going to be successful. It's just a matter of commitment and consistency. You're going to feel terrible, just don't rely on motivation. I almost feel like as well, when you do feel like a lack of motivation, when you really don't want to do something. For me personally, when I was trying to be I go running every single day, so I was trying to get in a bit better shape, and I wanted to go running every single day. Now I've never really enjoyed running, Even when I was a football, like I played football a lot when I was young, I didn't really enjoy the running aspect of it. But what I realised with myself is that I'd do it for a few days. I'd be excited with the idea of running every single day. I like imagine what I'd be like after 30 days, like running every single day, how fit I would be. I'd be excited by that idea. But then 2 or 3 days would go by, I'd wake up in the morning and be like, oh, nah, I'm not going for a run. I just can't be bothered. And then I'd quit, I'd stop. But the one thing that enabled me to run for longer streaks, and I got to like, I pretty much nearly did 30 days once. I had a massive difference. I'd only get to like 2 or 3 days and I'd quit, but then a few times I've done well into like the high 20s and nearly got to 30s. But usually it was stopped by something else and I was focused on something else. But the one difference that I made was that I just committed even when I felt terrible. I said the same thing over again in my mind, was like, the days when you feel terrible, where you don't want to do it, they're actually the best days. So every time I'd go out for a run, I'd just exit the house, go outside the door, and I feel terrible. I just really didn't want to do it. They were always my best runs, always. During the run, I felt the best I'd felt. I felt the strongest. I felt the fittest that I'd been on most of the runs. It's when I'd actually push further than I've ever been before. I'd run further, I'd feel better. I'd come back after the run and I'd feel the best, because it's almost like you're pushing past the mental barrier. When you have that low energy, low motivation, it's maybe more a feeling of like, or more a sense of a lack of belief in trying to become who you're trying to be or trying to achieve what you're trying to achieve. It's almost like you're pushing past that mental barrier. So just commit, take action. Don't rely on emotions, motivation, because they're always changing. Just commit and take action consistently and you will achieve whatever goal is you set out to achieve.